Hey, hey, hey. Happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, November 21st, 2022. This is live stream number 853. Your first time tuning in to catch the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a first look at a tabletop game. Tonight, we are going to have a big show, or I guess, as some of you may remember, Ed Sullivan, a really big show, really big show. The Beatles was terrible, Ed Sullivan. I actually played Ed Sullivan as a small child in a grammar school play. I didn't even really know who the hell he was. So, I mean, he's before my time, really. Anyway, tonight we're going to dive in and we're going to look at a trio of upcoming releases for the eagerly anticipated Blade Runner, the role-playing game from Free League Publishing. So we're going to take a look at the starter set. Yes. The core rule book, as well as the game runner's screen. That's what they call the game master in Blade Runner, is the game runner, which, I mean, I guess makes sense, right? I mean, they are running the game. Of course, do want to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Also, this is kind of different than most shows you may have popped in and checked out. If this is your first time joining me, excuse me, it's kind of dry down here in the Duct Tape Studios slash Kingdom of Spiders, or the Kingdom of Spiders, although I haven't seen any spiders since I've been down here past hour or so. But if you're watching live and you're tuning in because you want to check out Blade Runner, please keep in mind it's going to be about 35 minutes or so before we jump into the unboxing and first looks. So if you are watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax, enjoy the show. We'll get to it. If you are watching 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, though, you can jump ahead. You don't have to sit through the tabletop gaming news, although we've got some cool news like always. But if you want to skip past, there are timestamps. They are in the show notes. And depending on the device you might happen to be watching this on, might even be right there in the timeline in the video on the screen. So you can use that as well. Lastly, because this is a live stream, I do want to point out there's chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Plus, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet, another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, if you got a question, a comment, Maybe there's something in the Blade Runner role-playing game that you want to take a closer look at as we're taking a peek. Be sure to chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was Sarah D. Yes, one of our chat moderators. First out the gate saying howdy. Coco B is with us and points out that they received their old school essentials advanced box set today. So they're very excited, no doubt. MC is with us. Tessie Trekkie. Shane Sangster. I always want to just say Sanger, but it's Sangster. So hello, Shane. Flaming Huron's with us, yet another of our chat moderators who also happens to be from across the pond. Viper Dave is with us as well, and Board Game Bree is popping in. I believe this is the first time visit, at least in chat, for Board Game Bree. So howdy, everybody. It is Monday. We're off and running. It is Thanksgiving week. So, of course, you know, the intermission's going to have something about that. MC points out they got their Tome of Beasts 3 Kickstarter today, but they sent the regular edition instead of their layers hardcover. Damn fun again. Well, you know, interestingly enough, over the weekend, I also received Tome of Beasts 3, but the layers book is with it as well. So we're actually going to be taking a look at this on Wednesday. So I've just stolen some of my thunder about what's coming up this week. But we've got plenty of goodies cooking. Let's jump right on into the news because there's an interesting looking tile shifting game, which is arriving from Lucky Duck Games in early 2023. Here's the skinny on Oros. The wise one, mortal keeper of wisdom and knowledge, has sent demigods endowed with earth-moving power to the far reaches of humanity. And why is Cobalt Press popping up here? It's not Cobalt Press. Ah, for crying out loud. Yep. Keep in mind, everybody, this Lucky Duck Games. Why the hell? I give up. I give up on this solid state drive. I really do. Really do. Anyway, instruct your followers in the wisdom of the mountains through study, worship, and experience. Only in the heights of the mountains can the greatest mysteries be known. Oros is a game of strategy in which you'll be faced with choices between moving the land itself, erupting volcanoes, building shrines, or repositioning your followers on every turn. Shift the land itself, move and collide tiles, form and erupt volcanoes, worship to gain wisdom, journey across the ever-changing landscape, and build sacred monuments in the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge. From Lucky Duck Games, not Cobalt Press. Customize your actions by moving your followers between upgradable action spaces on individual player mats. Manipulate a shared environment like a giant puzzle of plate tectonics. Shift, move, build up, erupt, and reposition the land by sliding and colliding tiles on the shared board. Every action is a puzzle of creative problem solving, abstract thinking, and constantly evolving strategy. Oros will appeal to players who enjoy competitive, highly strategic, Euro-style games, thematic games, and games with unique mechanics. Oros is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in about an hour to 2 hours. It's going to carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it hits stores in Q1 2023, and it's from Lucky Duck Games over at luckyduckgames.com, not Cobalt Press. I oughta. I know, I keep talking about swapping out the solid state drive. I've got so much stuff on it. I want to have to sit there and transfer everything. Flaming Heron says, yes, the slides are not playing ball again. I tell you. Hey, that's what you get with a live show, right? Hey, at least the news piece over at thegaminggang.com that you'll be able to check out first thing tomorrow morning will actually have the correct company add web address. Moving right along. Arriving this week from Litter Games is Ahoy! Oh, look! And the game's website is correct. Oh, stunning. Stunning. So, Board Game Bree, who I'm taking guess is the same Bree from Lucky Duck Games, who, yeah, we were just showing the wrong company on the slides of the game, is pointing out that they're going to have demos at PAX Unplugged. I'm actually not going to PAX Unplugged. They keep inviting me to go, and financially, it's just can't swing it. Plus, I'd have to fly. I should say not fly, but I'd have to cover it solo. So I'm not super keen, especially in a city I'm not overly familiar with. Indianapolis, Columbus, yeah, I've been there enough times. Philadelphia, not so much. Anyway, here's the latest on Ahoy. Ahoy is a lightly asymmetrical game where 2 to 4 players take the roles of swashbucklers and soldiers seeking fame on the high seas. One player controls the Bluefin Squadron, a company of sharks and their toothy friends who patrol these waters and keep order with shot and sword. Another player controls the Mollusk Union, an alliance of undersea creatures and their comrades in arms who fight to reclaim their ancestral home. In games with more people, some players control smugglers, maverick captains who run blockades to smuggle luxuries and essentials, delivering them to those with the most need or the most coin. Explore the seas. As you play, you'll make a unique map full of treasure troves, dangerous wreckage, and mighty sea currents using deluxe double layer region tiles. Featuring development from the same team that brought you Root and Oath, Ahoy offers deep interactive gameplay and a fast playing and easy to learn design with a colorful setting brought to life by Kyle Farron's gorgeous illustrations. Ahoy is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 60 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $40 when it arrives in stores this week, or at least it's slated to arrive in stores this week. Gotta say, I have to point out that I'm relatively impressed with the visual pop that this game has. Although, I gotta point out, I'm just never all that thrilled with the artwork in Litter Games. Yes, I know. I'm in the minority, but I just think it's all right. It's just okay. Perkins Dearborn is with us. Good to see you, Perkins. Thanks for coming on board and hanging out with us. So, complexity comes from player interactions with Oros. So, Bree is pointing this out for those of you who are kind of curious about Oros, which also has some pretty impressive visual pop as well. All right, let's move on to some role playing game news. And yes, I know we're taking a look at Blade Runner, the role playing game today from Free League Publishing. I usually don't double dip with news from a company we're looking at one of their releases. I think that's just, a little overboard. But this was a pretty big news item last Friday because Free League Publishing announced the upcoming The Walking Dead universe role playing game, and it's going to be coming to Kickstarter. Here's a bit of the announcement. As the groundbreaking TV series The Walking Dead came to its climactic conclusion, AMC Networks announced a long term alliance with Free League Publishing and Genuine Entertainment to continue expanding the Walking Dead universe with the Walking Dead Universe role playing game, an official tabletop role playing game. There's a lot of redundancy in that sentence, isn't there? It's like, it's the Walking Dead Universe role playing game, which tackles the Walking Dead universe. Oh, and by the way, it is a role playing game. The Walking Dead universe role-playing game, yes, that followed right on top of that sentence too, will debut on Kickstarter in spring of 2023, offering early access to the core rulebook, a starter set, and other premium accessories and limited run exclusives long before its fall 2023 retail release. This is a co-production between AMC Networks and the award-winning Tabletop publisher, which is working closely with key forces behind the franchise, including Chief Content Officer of the Walking Dead universe, Scott M. Gimple, and head of AMC Networks Publishing, Mike Zagari. The ongoing role-playing game series will introduce, new story elements while drawing inspiration from the current series and upcoming spin-offs. The Walking Dead has always been about characters and audiences by extension, facing impossible life and death choices, says Gimple. Now fans can face those choices head on, putting themselves in the world of The Walking Dead at any time in the timeline, encountering familiar faces and places and brand new ones, and within our apocalypse, making the biggest choice. Who are you going to be? We've seen a lot of stories in the Walking Dead universe. Now it's time to see yours. Of course, that is all the information that I've got currently. It is going to hit Kickstarter in the spring. I got to point out, I believe this is pretty much done. Gotta be honest. I think this is basically going to be a order processing Kickstarter, an order fulfillment. How many copies do we need to produce? Because I would think this was pretty much finished or as close to being finished. I'm sure there's more artwork that needs to be done. But once they made the announcement, I'm sure this has been cooking for a while. Flaming Huron says that, so MC says Free League's just doing all the licenses. So Tessie Trekkie says they saw a pile of discussion like, we have all flesh must be eaten. Why do we need this? Coco B points out they stopped watching the show 8 years ago. I'll be very honest. I stopped watching it about 3 years ago. So, yeah, it used to be must watch TV. And then it was kind of like, so MC says it's going to be a reskinned Alien RPG. I don't believe that. I don't know. Although the stress mechanics, yes, MC points out that could be part of it, is part of the system as well. But gotta admit, dig the artwork. The artwork looks pretty cool. But also keep in mind, this is the television universe. This is not Robert Kirkman's comic book universe, which if you had read the comics, there's a lot different. And then there's a lot that's the same, but some characters who took a dirt nap early on in the comics, I believe, have made it all the way to the end of the series as well. Tessie Trekkie points out that I believe they're referring to the order fulfillment Kickstarters are some of their favorites. Yeah, because you know what's coming your way. And once the Kickstarter ends, a lot of times they give you access to the finished product in PDF. So MC says they'd be way more into this if it was the comics being adapted. Well, you had the Mantic Games All Out War, which I think they stopped producing, if I remember correctly. But that was the miniature system. Trey Kismet is with us. And let's see, who else? Did I miss anybody? I think I said hi to Testy Trekkie earlier. I'm pretty sure I did. All right, moving right along. My next news piece. The Dungeon Crawl Classics Holiday Adventure number 11 is now available for pre-order from Goodman Games. Here's the scoop on Came the Monsters of Midwinter, a level 2 holiday adventure module for Dungeon Crawl Classics. Starnotch, a town that keeps the sovereign night more joyful and true than any other in the Shutter Mountains, is beset by a host of evils so horrible as to try the faith of honest folk. When a group of fiendish creatures strikes at the town's heart, it's up to our mountain heroes to vanquish an ancient evil and restore the light of the divine to the hills. This is a second level adventure set in the Shutter Mountains, and if the adventurers play their hand well, they just might learn the true meaning of the season. A high impact holiday adventure featuring equal parts role playing opportunities, battles against savage monsters, and celebrating the season. Comes with a scratch off handout. This is like a little advent calendar that can permanently grant characters new and improved abilities, contacts, and in game benefits, making it a surefire must have for ongoing Shutter Mountain campaigns. Presents the town of Starnotch, expanding the Shutter Mountains and giving players a possible new base of operations. It includes several new monsters and magical rites suitable for any Shutter Mountains campaign. The soft cover adventure and PDF are available right now for pre-order over at the Goodman Games website for an MSRP of $14.99. Will mention that I have not seen this as a PDF only from Drive Through RPG, and I think the reason why is because of that little scratch off advent calendar. So there is that. So it is the 11th holiday adventure, and I think off the top of my head, I think this is only the second time they've tackled the winter holidays, Christmas season, whatever you want to consider it. I think this is only the second time they've done that. Usually it's Valentine's Day or Halloween. So Mr. Eddie T is with us in chat, another of our chat moderators. So we've got two, I should say, I take that back. We've got three of our four chat moderators hanging out with us tonight. All right, on to my last news piece. There's a new supplement that's available in print and PDF for Changeling: The Lost Second Edition from Onyx Path Publishing. Here's what I know about Kith and Kin. You can't predict a changeling by their kith. We're not so easily defined, but we are connected to others who fashion themselves the same way. You meet other playmates' eye and know you share something no one else can understand. In a way, you're kin. This is the lost struggle. Did they take me apart so thoroughly that putting me back together rearranged the pieces entirely? Am I what they made me to be, or can I decide my own shape? Bad news is you'll never find an answer you're satisfied with. Good news is you don't have to wrestle with this stuff alone. They wanted to fit you into a mold, but people aren't like that. This struggle is what separates us from them. Kith and Kin is a companion book to Changeling: The Lost Second Edition, expanding on the core book. It contains a deep dive into the return from Arcadia, including details about the Briar Net, the Wishing Roads, and the Lunar Freehold, as well as additional options for touchstones and clarity. Expanded Changeling powers, including new regalia and contracts, regalia manifestations, expanding pledgecraft, and rules for the Fae, sympathetic magic known as dramaturgy. There's a vast selection of new kiths, as well as options for playing kithless creatures and acquiring a kith in play. Advice and options for motleys, example motley oaths, new type of hedge ghost, which feeds on those oaths, and structured motley conflict, as well as a discussion of forming motleys with non-changelings, other fey creatures, mortals, and other supernatural creatures, as presented in other Chronicles of Darkness games. The 144-page premium hardcover is a print on demand over at Drive-Thru RPG for $44.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $16.99. Very honest, I know absolutely nothing about Changeling. I know very little about most of the Chronicle of Darkness games outside of some of the reviews that Sammy has put together for some of the storyteller games that are out there, or Story Path, I believe is what the system is known as. Those don't really fall into Chronicle of Darkness like Wraith and I assume Werewolf, although I always thought Werewolf and Vampire the Masquerade were considered World of Darkness. I don't know. But I did want to share the news piece with you because it is now available. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Now, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always visit paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. Lastly, still have plenty of used games for sale right now. You can find the little banners over at thegaminggang.com. I think we're sitting at about 135 used board games, role-playing games, miniatures games, all available at rock bottom prices. And for Black Friday, I'm actually going to roll out a little bit of a special where if you purchase 3 or more games, I'll take 25% off. So Tessie Trekkie asks, is it intermission time, Dad? Can we go to the candy bar? Please, please, please. No, it's not intermission time yet. Close, though. Pretty close. Somebody had asked, somebody had commented on the live stream I did Friday night, where we unboxed and took a first look at the Dungeons and Dragons Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen Deluxe Edition. And they said, where was the intermission? There was no intermission. So I had to point out that that wasn't an episode of The Dispatch. That was just a special live unboxing and first look. Because normally I'd have just shot that as a standalone video. And I thought, you know what? Why not just do it live? And I was very surprised. We had a good crowd. We had a good amount of regulars hanging out in chat. I thought for sure being on a Friday, 7 o'clock at night Central, I was a little concerned I was maybe going to be by myself. But no, we had a nice crowd. We had a very nice crowd. So Coco B is asking anything up with Magic the Gathering. Well, that kind of segues into what I wanted to broach very quickly, because I know a lot of people are want to check out Blade Runner. But during Friday's live stream, the topic of Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering, and Bank of America came up. I kind of dropped a reference to it, but I didn't want to get into a whole lot of detail about it because we were there to take a look at Shadow of the Dragon Queen. But I found it very interesting. If you have not run across this, you can simply Google it, that Bank of America has actually downgraded Hasbro stock. Because, you know, Bank of America is always looking out for their customers. But I found it very interesting because Bank of America feels that Hasbro has ruined Magic the Gathering. That is exactly their words, that they have ruined it because there's just far too much Magic the Gathering content out there, and a lot of gamers feel the same way. So Bank of America downgraded the desirability of Hasbro stock from being a hey, it's a purchase to it's overvalued. So if I remember correctly, this is off the top of my head, I think Bank of America was valuating the Hasbro stock at around $72, something like that. And then they had released a new valuation where they were saying it was about $47 in value. And one thing that I was not aware of because I don't really follow Magic the Gathering, and I've got nothing against it. I play Arena, not as much as I once did, but I still play Arena from time to time, especially usually against my best friend Elliot. But there's just so much magic. There's every time you turn around, there's more magic coming out. One of the things I'm not keen on is every time you turn around, cards that you just bought are rotated out. And it's like, what? Really? So a lot of people are playing I'm trying to remember what they call it. Not classic. It's along those lines. Legend, something like that, where your older cards are still available to be utilized in your deck building. So something else that has thrown a lot of people into a tizzy, which I don't blame them, especially people out there who decided that Magic the Gathering was a great investment. They are out there, but there is going to be a special 30th anniversary booster that's going to be available, and it is going to contain like a lot of stuff that's no longer allowed in tournaments and things like that. We're talking just really valuable cards, and it's a 14 card booster. Once again, this is off the top of my head, and they're going to be charging $999 for it. And Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro had promised that those cards would never be printed again. But they're getting around that because the backing on the cards are going to be a little bit different. So, which would be really bizarre anyway. So, you buy it, you can't really use the cards because the back is different. But I have heard there are a lot of people who are liquidating their Magic collections because of all of this. So, Shane points out, ouch, that's quite the devaluation. Yes. Yeah, that is a huge from what 72 to 47. Uh, I mean, this is those poor deluded people. Yes, who thought that Magic the Gathering would be a good investment. Shane also points out on the Magic the Gathering booster, very expensive. Yeah, you'd have to be $1,000 for a 14 card booster. See, the other thing that I kind of laugh at is now Elliot and I got involved in Magic the Gathering when they were in beta. And we were actually at the Gen Con that it pretty much premiered at, and nobody knew what it was. We actually demoed it. We were like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. And we picked up boxes on Sunday for a song. I mean, I don't want to say they were practically giving them away, but it just hadn't hit. It wasn't going to hit until later. Now, the Gen Con after that was insane. Not only was Magic like red hot, you had all these other companies coming out of nowhere with their own kind of, rip-offs that almost all of them were just hot garbage because we tried some of them. Wyvern, I'll never forget Wyvern. Anyway, so we had tons of really valuable cards, and all we would do, we would go and just, sell them to comic book stores. And we'd say, okay, so you're going to give us 600 for this card. I'll tell you what, give me 300 cash and the other 300 in store credit. I'll cut you a deal. Okay. And then with that $300 in store credit, we just buy more Magic cards. Kept it going. So it's kind of funny when I hear people talk about, oh, wow, that was a really good booster. I opened that booster up and it had like $22 worth of cards in it. It was like, and you're excited about that? Really? It's like, okay. Like we were sitting there like, hey, look, it's a Mox Pearl and another Mox Pearl. Sweet. Elliot was the one who always used to really luck out and get the really, really good cards. I'd get good cards like, $800, $900 cards. He got the ones that were like $1,500. Yeah. So that's what was going on. That was the story that I was referring to, that Bank of America is telling investors to stay away from Hasbro. And of course, after they said that, Hasbro stock did drop. Yeah. So anywho, that was sort of the story. Once again, I like Magic the Gathering. I say it all the time. I think for a game that is now going on 30 years old, it has held up exceptionally well. I still enjoy playing it. I would certainly not invest the kind of money that some people do. And I certainly would not look at Magic the Gathering as an investment opportunity. I never looked at it that way. To us, it was just, hey, these comic book stores and people and stuff are just suckers, buying this stuff from us, but whatever. All right. So, as you already know, we're going to be diving on into Blade Runner, the role-playing game, in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
I float through the air with the greatest of ease, with or without the flying trapeze. My act is so great, gravity I defy, 'cause I bring T-O-D-D-Y.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
Get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Delicious.
If anybody loves trains, it's me, Johnny Cash. If your boy's under 10 like mine is, he needs a big Lionel like this Black River Freight. Lionel also makes HO gauge trains for older kids, like this Burlington 181. But for smaller hands, the big Lionel is easier to handle and put on the track. This Christmas, get your boy a train that's built for the way young boys play. A big, rugged Lionel. Lionel, the big train for small hands.
Help, I've been imprisoned.
Why, fair damsel?
I don't drink Wilkins instant coffee.
Well, that's the way the old ball bounces.
Our forefathers ran down wild turkeys, shot them with a blunderbuss, roped them, or tried to catch them with their bare hands. And they were pretty tough turkeys in those days. Today, everyone's entitled to a happy Thanksgiving. And that's what we hope you'll have.
Hello, my name is Johnny Cash. When you think of Lionel Trains, you think Johnny Cash. I know, terrible Johnny Cash. But no, in fact, I thought it was funny. Like MC points out in chat, yes, noted train enjoyer, Johnny Cash. And yes, Wontkins lives. Trapped in a tower, but Wontkins lives. So moving right along, today I am going to be diving in and taking a first look at a trio of Blade Runner, the role-playing game releases that are slated to hit later on this month. We've got the Blade Runner starter set, the core book, as well as the Game Runner's screen. So if you were tuning in a little bit later today, as I pointed out, Game Master in Blade Runner is known as the Game Runner. The starter set carries an MSRP of $57.99. The core book carries an MSRP of $49.99. The Game Master's screen has an MSRP of $24.99. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got the starter set to kick things off. Tessie Trekkie says the starter set PDFs were, say, magnifique. Wonderful, wonderful. I don't know. I haven't taken a look. So I don't know yet. So here we got the starter set. Take a look at the back here. This is the starter set for the official Blade Runner role-playing game. A neon noir wonderland that will take your breath away one way or another. An evocative world of conflicts and contrasts that dares to ask the hard questions and investigate the power of empathy, the poison of fear, and the burden of being human during inhumane times. An iconic and unforgiving playground of endless possibilities that picks you up, slaps you in the face, tells you to wake up. Wake up! Time to live, time to die. All right, and then it talks about what we get inside. Well, we are going to take a peek ourselves to find out. So I should mention that I had an opportunity to meet Philip K. Dick's daughter at San Diego Comic-Con. And you would actually, if you check out our coverage of Man in the High Castle, she's in our interview, and she was so nice and just really, really cool. All right, so we got a little catalog here of lots of goodies from Free League Publishing. I've got more Free League Publishing role-playing game stuff as well. You already know that I have the, all right, come on. What's with the autofocus there? I was going to say, I've got the Cyborg that arrived this weekend. And of course, I also have the One Ring, Ruins of the Lost Realm, or Realm. I think it's singular. We've got rules and so Perkins just asked, do androids dream of sheep? It's actually, do androids dream of electric sheep? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lock in our focus, because I was going to do that after we take a look at the starter set, because we're looking at books essentially, but that autofocus is kind of jumping. So I just locked it in where it's at right now. Anyway, yeah, so do androids dream of electric sheep, which is the novella that Blade Runner is based on. Look at this. Look at what our first case file is. Electric dreams. So Flaming Heron asks, hey, what about Cubicle 7 releases? I gotta be honest, things are really weird right now. with Cubicle 7, they had a shakeup in their marketing department. In fact, I really do need to reach out once again. I don't want to throw these people under the bus, but it's like, it used to be I'd get news pieces all the time. Anything that was coming out that was, in print from Cubicle 7 would get shipped out to me. New PDFs, always got them. Well, none of that's going on right now. And I really don't want to reach out to Dominic McDowell or his assistant, who I have her email. So I want to try to go through the marketing department, but it's just, I don't know. They were supposed to bring somebody on board, and that person, well, they brought 2 people on board, and only one of them stuck. I think one of them lasted a couple of days and left. So I don't know. But yes, to answer that question, we should. And like I said, I've been kicking around, touching base with the marketing department there. But I don't want to be like, hey, what the hell's wrong with you people? But then in a way, I kind of feel like, hey, what the hell's wrong with you people? I'm so used to sharing all the news pieces and stuff like that. Now it's sort of like I got to go try to track things down. But we're not talking Cubicle 7 Entertainment. We're talking Free League Publishing. So this is our core rule book, but it's slimmed down from, we're going to look at the actual core rule book. So Fiery, the Angels Fell. You know the score, pal. You're not a cop, you're little people. So should mention the fine folks over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with all of these releases for Blade Runner, the role-playing game. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important that you know that. Also, I'm going to be staying here like I always do, picture in picture. So it means I'll be cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion. And we are not going to look at each and every page because I just want to give you a good feel for what's in here. But I don't want to, provide you with everything that's in here. So Perkins says, if you read any Philip K. Dick, he had a darkness to his dystopian future worlds. Also, Philip K. Dick was terrified of fascism taking hold in the United States. He was very, very concerned about that. So Flaming Heron points out, just a first look. Yes, this is not a review. You just saw me take the shrink wrap off. I have not seen any of this because, to be honest, I did not receive PDFs ahead of time, which is usually what Free League does, but which is fine, which is okay, because I got to be honest, I usually don't peek at the PDFs until stuff arrives already. MC says, not happy about the glossy paper. I know some people dislike the glossy paper, especially with a black background. I do find that to be a little more difficult on the eyes, but I don't hate it. So MC says, oh, really? I got my PDFs. Yeah, I'm talking about as a reviewer. So as a reviewer, usually Free League will send me PDFs long before they're available on Drive-Thru RPG. So, which is okay. I mean, I don't have any issue with that. All right, so we're going to get a timeline. So I don't know about those of you who are watching both live and after the fact. I thought Blade Runner 2047 was great. But strangely enough, it flopped just like Blade Runner did. So we're going to see how you're going to create your Blade Runner. This does utilize the Mutant Year Zero engine. I believe they just refer to it as the Year Zero engine for non-Mutant Year Zero games. We got our core concepts. There's more than most tabletop role-playing games. The Blade Runner RPG is about your characters. Sure, you'll be out there in the streets solving rep detect cases, but even more important than uncovering the truth is how you react to that truth once you know it, how it affects you, and what choices you make. So we've got our attributes: strength, agility, intelligence, and empathy. So you have to take the void comp. Isn't that it? Void comp. So Flaming Heron says it's an acquired taste and a cult hit, pretty much what they expected. And Chen Su Chu, I know I screwed that up, is with us again from Taiwan. Welcome aboard. MC said, yeah, they love 2049, and they're a huge fan of the original. And if you are looking for inspiration, there you go, Void Comp Test. Thank you, MC. If you are looking for some additional Blade Runner stories, Titan Comics over in England publishes a couple of series. They've done some short run series too. So I know one of them is Blade Runner Origins, and I've heard good things about it. We share news from Titan Comics all the time. Whenever they've got more than one new issue coming out, we've always got that. So we've got our skills and specialties. More human than human is our motto. We've got our dice we're going to take a peek at. We've got some custom transparent dice we'll be taking a peek at that are included in this. MC says, isn't there a Hulu series as well? Yeah, wasn't there an animated series? I did not get a chance to check it out. Quantum Phase Dragon is with us. Good to see you, QPD. Saying hello from Oakland. Howdy, howdy. So, Flaming Heron points out, hey, appreciate that. They were actually intending to create their own stories. Hey, yeah, take your inspiration where you can get it. Plus, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's Titan Comics. It's not like it's Marvel where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm concerned that, players have read this stuff, which is no knock on Titan. It's just Titan tends to be actually far better known in Europe than it is here in the US. So we've got our different skills, which aren't going to be tons, and they're going to be relatively abstracted. So we got force, hand-to-hand combat, stamina, mobility, firearms, tech, medical aid, connections, observation, manipulation. Then we've got a list of specialties as well. Zones and range. So yes, the Year Zero engine is not super crunchy, and their combat tends to be pretty abstract. So I know some folks want really crunchy combat mechanics. You're not going to find that with the Year Zero engine. So we got death, healing crits, critical injuries. So we got critical injuries, crushing, piercing. That's kind of cool. Stress and resolve. There we go. Suffering stress. So looks like we may see some of the mechanics from Alien make its way over. Got some vehicle combat. Runners versus vehicles. Working the case. Artwork is pretty solid throughout. It's all, looks like it's Martin Grip. So playing the game, I'm taking a stab. We're going to see that this is scene-based, like many of the Free League Publishing role-playing games are. Speaking of Free League, I should mention that the Lord of the Rings role-playing, which is the 5e edition of the One Ring second edition is now in early access over at Drive-Thru RPG. So earlier I saw somebody was asking about the game sale. Where can they find it? They go to the gaminggang.com. It's on the front page. You got to scroll down a little bit. It's on towards the right. You'll see kind of a box ad for it. Plus, any of the website pages that you go to has that as well. So Perkins says, looks like a fun role-playing game. Love to have a group to run through Blade Runner. So MC points out the artwork is very evocative of the cyberpunk aesthetic and feel. I always felt, now maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, I never really felt Blade Runner was very cyberpunk. Because the humans aren't really augmenting themselves that much. There really isn't kind of a transhumanistic aspect to it. So we've got some of our equipment, some of our vehicles. Of course, I'm sure we'll see more of that in the core book. So that's the rules. The case file, we're going to kind of skim over a little bit because, of course, this is an adventure. So here there be spoilers. So keep that in mind. So we've got a little prelude here. Welcome to Electric Dreams, the first official case file for the Blade Runner role-playing game. This scenario is designed to introduce new players to the game rules and its setting, and even to tabletop role-playing as such, but will provide a solid challenge for veteran players as well. This case file is the first installment in the campaign entitled The Immortal Game. Oh, should say campaign arc. Further episodes will be published in the months and years to come. Each installment in The Immortal Game will be fully standalone and can be played in any order except, obviously enough, the final episode. All right. So we've got some of our, looks like these are NPCs. Looks like they're replicants. The crime board. Okay, that's something different. We'll have to be checking that out. City location. So it is taking place in LA. So MC mentions that Blade Runner to them encapsulates the high-tech, low-life theme that they associate with cyberpunk. So instead of augmented humans, you literally have humans who aren't human. All right, kind of interesting. Animoid Row. I just make the eyes. I just make the eyes. My God, man, off the top of my head, I don't recall that actor's name, but he has been in so many movies. All right, so we've got our final confrontation there. This looks pretty interesting. Very nice. Very, very cool. So as we have seen in many of the starter sets and box sets that Free League Publishing has been releasing, say, as an example, the trio of adventures for Alien, the role-playing game, we get NPC cards. Looks like we're going to have equipment cards. So we've got the dice as well. We have what appears to be a folder of handouts. And we also have 4 pre-gens. So we've got an analyst archetype, a doxy archetype, an enforcer archetype, and an inspector archetype. So we're going to see that the skills are going to utilize various sized dice. So this was something that we saw in Twilight 2000. So it's looking like to me. So like an A uses a larger die than C. So that's kind of cool. MC says, good old Chang. So here we've got the dice here. So some have, so as an example, we've got our 10-sider here. So we've got 10 shows 2 eyes. And then it looks like from 6 up has 1 eye. And 1 shows an origami horse. That's pretty wild. I think those are all just special. Yep, that's it. Okay, so that's the 10. We do have a 12-sider, kind of broken up the same way, where 6 and up have eyes on it. Like 11 and 12 has 2. We've got the 8. So they only have the 1 eye. So it looks like it's what, 5 and up? And then 1 has the origami piece. So we've got 2 of each. 2 8s, 2 10s, 2 12s. So those are our custom dice. Nice. And they are cut, obviously enough. So they're not silk screened or anything like that. I'll just take a peek at a couple of things that are in here because these look like these are handouts for the adventure. Oh, yeah. Most definitely. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, cool. Like advertisements and stuff like that. Like it's supposed to be a magazine cover. Sweet. Very cool. So we're not going to dive into that because I don't want to inadvertently float out too many spoilers here. Okay, so let's take a look to see what we've got in this deck of cards. Aerial chase obstacles, ground chase obstacles. So it looks like these can be used in a variety of adventures, not just the first adventure, electric sleep, foot chase obstacles, chase maneuvers, initiative cards, and we got mug shots. All right, sweet. So just kind of share some of these with you. The foot chase obstacles, dead end, umbrellas. Yeah. Yeah, that is in Blade Runner. Yeah, that is a big problem. All the people with their big plastic umbrellas, open space, chase maneuver, pursue, flee, block, cut off, stand and shoot. A few of those. The initiative are just dealt out to the players. And off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, the players can actually swap initiative cards. So Shane asks, narrative dice like Genesis? No, not really. What these are basically trying to do is show you like how many successes. Now it looks like the eyes are probably utilized in the investigative aspect of the game. So some of the aerial chase obstacles, add blimp, going low, billboard, downpour. Cool. Very nice. So once again, keep in mind the starter set carries an MSRP of $57.99. And once again, as I mentioned, it's arriving the end of the month. Then we have looks like a case file sheet here. Then we also have some vehicles. So there's a lot of stuff that's in this. We've got the Jupiter Moon Bus, Hollywood sign. So this looks like these are all probably utilized in the adventure. Kill magazine, Apartment 16, Apartment 52, the Snake Pit. Yes, because I remember we saw the Snake Pit in that adventure. That adventure, I should say. We've got the Memory Lab. Are these dual-sided? They are not. Okay, so, and then we've got that Ammonoid Row. I remember we saw that as well. Quantum Phase Dragons is great value. I'll tell you what, this really, the production quality on this is just top notch. Then we're going to have a map of central LA. Kind of cool. And it's showing some of those locations that we were just taking a peek of, I should say. And that's single-sided. It's not dual-sided. Right, so we've got the Los Angeles map. We've got some of the smaller maps, all the cool-looking handouts. The pre-gens, as well as a case file. We've got the adventure, the kickoff initial adventure, Electric Dreams, as well as the streamlined rules, the various different cards, as well as our custom dice. And that is what we find in the starter set. Next up, let's take a look at the Game Runners screen. It looks like we've got some Martin Grip artwork on this as well. I don't know if there's anything else inside it. Because, you know, a lot of times you'll have a Game Master screen and they might include like a short adventure or something else. Cubicle 7 has done that with like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. But no, this is just the screen. So it is 3 panels, but nice and thick. So this should hold up really nicely. All right, so here's what the artwork looks like on the front. There's those damn umbrellas always getting in the way. So this carries an MSRP of $24.99. And lastly, let's jump on into the core rule book. Looks like we've got actually same text on the back as we did the starter set. So once again, we're not going to look at each and every page. I just want to give you a good feel for this. So with the Alien, the role-playing game, the core rulebook had cinematic rules and then campaign rules. And then the starter set has like the cinematic rules. And so far for Alien, the role-playing game, the adventures that have come out have all been cinematic. So I don't think that's the case here. I think that the rules are pretty much both the same. There's no real difference between them. I just think this probably goes into a lot more detail about it. Although we see part 1, Fiery the Angels Fell. That's kind of the same thing we saw. Kind of going through. I guarantee you the core book is going to have far, far more detail about the background of Blade Runner. Moral conflict. The driving inspiration in noir storytelling is moral conflict. The intense inner turmoil to maintain your empathy, humanity, and moral code against the relentless desires, seductions, and corruptions of an unsympathetic world that doesn't reward you for playing by the rules. The life of a Blade Runner is a dictonomous, I should say, emotional journey filled with light and darkness, hopeful triumphs, and cautionary tales alike as you make one impossible choice after another, and then live with the consequences. So, Perkins asks, does Free League do Kickstarter only publications, or do they produce enough product for general release? There's always enough for you to buy in stores. So, and to be very honest, it's not like there's like a huge difference in price with the Kickstarters. What usually will happen for the most part with the Free League Kickstarter backers is they will actually get the product quite a while before it goes to retail. That's usually the case. And of course, you'll get the PDFs before they go up on Drive-Through RPG. A lot of times you'll get the PDFs that are still in kind of a beta. So here's discussion of the various different archetypes. So our archetypes here are analysis, or I should say analyst, city speaker, a doxy, the enforcer, the fixer, the inspector, the skimmer. Okay, so those are our archetypes. When we get into our skills and specialties, it does look like some of the artwork is the same as we saw in the starter set. I should say quite a bit of it is the same as in the starter set. And some of these sections look as if they are exactly the same. So once again, we got our critical injuries, crushing, piercing. I think the really big difference is the additional page count is going to be filled with a lot of background info as well. So MC says, yeah, not so sure about that. Their Cyborg Kickstarter arrived maybe a day before release. Well, you also got to keep in mind that there are a lot of delays going on right now with shipping and that still. So we are seeing a lot of games that were slated for a release 1 month, showing up 2 months later and things like that. MC says, God, they hate this paper. Well, I will point out that it is at least a nice thickness. It's a nice weight. So it's not like we see, say, like Wizards of the Coast. Their paper tends to be really thin. That is not the case here. Of course, speaking of Wizards of the Coast, if you missed it, on Friday, I did a live stream where I took a first look I unboxed the deluxe edition of Dungeons and Dragons Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. That includes a deluxe edition of the adventure book and the Warriors of Krynn board game, and took a look through that as well. So Flaming Heron points out probably doesn't come across well on YouTube either. Yeah, because it's catching glare from the lighting down here. So you have to remember I'm in a location where there is absolutely no natural lighting. So I have to light this pretty well. Right, so it looks like this is all background. And then is this an adventure? No, maybe not. More background here. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Kind of newspaper headlines. 2037. Talking about the replicant lot in life. I don't believe you have an opportunity to role play as replicants. I think you are only Blade Runners or those in support of, through the police, in support of Blade Runners. Tools of the trade. Here's our equipment, no doubt. Yep. There's our Void Kampf machine. There's the gun. Sweet. The crime lab. I don't believe we're going to get an adventure in here. Digital companions. Well, we know that's from the sequel. And we've got other equipment as well. Flaming Heron says, replicant or human Blade Runners are a thing. Or are you a replicant enforcer and just don't know it? Yeah, that's, I always got a kick out of how many editions of Blade Runner there are floating around out there. Aren't there like 8? Like, got the director's cut, and then we've got the theatrical release, and then we've got this one that there's the dream sequence with the isn't it? It's not a Pegasus, it's a unicorn. It's been a while since I've seen it. And then we got the one that doesn't have that dream sequence. We got the one that where you're supposed to, realize that Harrison Ford, Rick Decker is a replicant. And then we've got this one where it's not really, it is like, blah, what? I have to admit, I like the version without the voiceover. And it was funny. I never thought that I'd be like, oh, really? I mean, that's a lot. There's lots going on with like, no dialogue, nothing. But I'm like, I do dig it. So Perkins says they like the theatrical release with Harrison Ford's voiceover, his narration. Oh, I don't mind it. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I really dig the Vangelis music. So maybe that's it. All right. So this is the core rule book. And this carries an MSRP of $49.99. So before we wrap up, I'm just going to share a couple of quick thoughts here. Once again, this is just based on what we've been looking at. But I'm sure folks out there are going to be kind of curious. Well, so we've got the core rule book here. And then we've got the starter set. But it looks like the rules portion of the starter set is pretty much identical to what's in the core book. And the starter set comes with an adventure. And it's like, which should I pick up? And I will tell you, once again, just I don't have any inside dope or anything like that from Free League Publishing. I'm going to tell you, you're probably going to be able to run the published adventures for Blade Runner, the role-playing game, with the starter set. So I'm not telling you don't get the core rule book. I get the feeling the core rule book is going to fill in a lot of the background detail, which if you think about it, you've got 2 movies that you've seen, but I'm sure there is just tons and tons more background that you're not aware of for Blade Runner that's going to be in the core rule book. So I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from picking this up. All I'm saying is this starter set's pretty sweet. So at least it looks pretty sweet. Of course, I'm going to have reviews of both of these in the very near future. Once again, the starter set carries an MSRP of $57.99. The core book carries an MSRP of $49.99. And then the Game Runners screen carries an MSRP of $24.99. Keep in mind, oh, so Tessie Trekkie says, why not both? Oh, I'm not telling you not to pick up both. I'm just saying that I'm sure there are people who are going to be wondering, well, if I'm only going to get one, which should I get? And what is really the difference between them? So anyway, so these are arriving later this month. So keep your eyes peeled. And of course, once again, I'm providing you with the MSRPs. There are online retailers who are going to provide much lower pricing than that as well. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera. So what's cooking this week for Thanksgiving week? Tomorrow, we're going to take a first look and page through Regency Cthulhu from my friends over at Chaosium Inc. So I'm very interested in taking a peek at this because I would have thought for certain we would have seen a new edition of Cthulhu by Gaslight or Gaslight Cthulhu, whatever you want to call it, before we would see a Regency era. So I'm very curious. Although there are many people who are addicted to the various different Regency era series on television. So that may have a little bit to do with it as well. And then on Wednesday, we are going to dive on into Tome of Beasts Volume 3 from the fine folks over at Kobold Press. So lots of goodies cooking. As I mentioned before, I did receive Cyborg as well as the extra reference pack and stuff. I'm not sure what's in here, but I kind of get the impression that almost they're character sheets and stuff like that. So we're going to, when we get around to taking a look at Cyborg, we're going to take a look at this at the same time. So there is that. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as today's review of Wretched Bastards from the Red Room. There you go. Kind of a long show tonight. Well, but then again, it was a big show. We had a lot to take a look at. Alrighty, if you were watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate it. If you took part in chat as well, big tip of the cap to you. Plus, you get some extra experience points there as well. Of course, I know loads of people out there don't have opportunities to watch this stream live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really, really do appreciate taking time out of your busy life to watch any of these videos on the Gaming Gang channel. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on YouTube. Come on, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will be back tomorrow. And here's hoping all of you get to enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is in your neck of the woods. And I also hope each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.